Hey everyone, welcome to Dallevel Podcast, episode 82. This week we'll be talking about the AI craze of things that are going on right now, especially how it's going to affect the gaming industry and the film industry. There's been some news about changes and with Microsoft and what they want to do in the next 2 years. And on top of that, we have the Capcom talking about them wanting game prices to go up and how that may affect us as gamers or the general public. So let's get into it. I don't know where we want to start with this. But I guess we can talk about the Capcom things. This is the last time I think I said. Just recently at the Tokyo Game Show, I can't remember his name at the moment, but the owner of Capcom basically said that Microsoft tried to approach them to purchase them, and they were like, "No, we don't see any value in you guys trying to purchase us." So that's interesting, as well as the fact that they feel that the uh, current pricing for video games is way too low for the industry. And I don't know. I mean, you think about it, the numbers. I think they had like 41.7 million units sold for like whatever game, their total library of stuff that they released for 2022. And you think about Street Fighter coming out uh back at the end of May, mid-June, and it was $70 and they sold 2 million copies. I mean, that's like what, $144 million right there. I mean, how much does it take to cost to make these games? How much do you need to pay people for the amount of labor that's put in for the graphics and the the voice actors that come in for the different things and so on and so forth?
I
What do you
mean, hey
guys?
man, people don't get cheaper, right? Like the work does not get cheaper. Everybody
No.
comes in, they're all wanting the world. That starting pay if they know you're hurting for bodies, right? They'll come in and ask for the world, and if you need it, right, you'll pay it. And like, what are you going to do with it? And the more and more these games get, right, it's like, how big do your teams need to be, depending on graphics. You're talking about years of development. I mean, shoot, Baldur's Gate was what, 10 years, right? A whole decade worth of development went into that game. It's like, so not only are you thinking about the size of the teams and what all goes into it, but again, you're just talking about the time sink for this stuff. And what's crazy to consider is, I mean, how many years has it been that all these games have been hyper dependent on DLC, right? Like DLC has become just every game. You just assume it. Even Nintendo isn't
Yeah.
immune to it anymore, right? It's like just everything that comes out. It's like, okay, there's going to be 8 season passes to this, and
Or the day one patching. Like the games aren't even complete when they come out.
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, that's a crazy thing to consider. Even with years of development, they still have to patch stuff right at the gate, right as it's coming out. So, I mean, there's something going on in that development world. Either it's just a bunch of old systems that just refuse to get updated, or I mean, who knows, man. It's crazy to think about that. Yeah, like the numbers you said, hundreds of millions of dollars, and somehow it's not enough. That's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know what their spreadsheets look like.
Well, it was like when I did the numbers on it, you just at doing $70 a game for last year. I know that like some games were like, $30. Some of them were still at the original, $65. Um, just averaging it at 70, you're looking at $9 billion. I mean, over $9 billion. So, I mean, that's a lot of money. So like me and Adrian used to work for a company that literally was sold for $4 billion. Hell, Lucas Film was sold for $4 billion. And we're talking about like that's a 40 41 million games that were sold just from Capcom alone. I mean, how much more do you need the money to be for production? Because you'd have to worry about the investors, you have to worry about meeting these certain deadlines. Um,
Others.
yes, yeah, shareholders, all that stuff. I mean, that's one of the big problems with what Cyberpunk with CD Projekt Red. You know, they had to push the game out because the stockholders wanted the game out because it was so hyped and stuff. Adrian, what are your thoughts, man? This is right up your alley.
I don't necessarily have a problem with the price increase in and of itself. My problem is like the overall quality of the product doesn't
Hmm.
doesn't get addressed first, right? And I'm not saying the kind of subjective bad game versus good game because that's subjective, man. You know, a game that I would consider bad, all of you could consider great. I'm not talking
Hmm.
about that. I'm talking about there are some specific um, technical issues with different games. Lots of bugs. They're crashing. The frame rate is all over the place.
I
Like
mean,
that's
Cyberpunk.
unacceptable. Yeah,
I
that's
mean,
Cyberpunk
Cyberpunk when it came
is
out,
an
it
example.
was busted.
It was busted, right? And so like put aside, you know, whether or not person A likes the gameplay or person B. Put aside the gameplay altogether. Like we're talking about like frame rates, whether or not you can play it at all, that type of thing is just like if that's not at a certain level of quality, then I don't want to pay anymore for it, regardless of anything else, because that's kind of like the baseline. It's kind of like I was thinking about this today. It's like okay, and then they say you know it takes more resources, more people, more time. Okay, that's fine, but if I'm going to sell Vince a grilled cheese sandwich, and it took me 16 hours to make it with these different cheeses, he takes a bite out of it and he doesn't like it, well, should I, does he like, oh, this is worth $100? No. But then if somebody puts together a grilled cheese sandwich with American cheese and it's the best thing he's ever tasted, then he'd be willing to pay
Hmm.
whatever the price was for that, right? So this idea that they're justifying it with the amount of time and resources it takes to make it, and then the end product is still kind of busted. I don't like that, right? If they led with okay, well, they can't even lead with it. If they just made the games come out and they worked when they came out, then say, okay, now we have this long track history of releasing these games that were technically sound. Whether or not, again, put aside whether or not you liked the game or the gameplay or not.
Hmm.
If I can play through the game from beginning to end without it crashing on me and a bunch of bugs, then that 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 to me says there was a level of quality put into it that's worth the money, regardless of whether or not I enjoyed the gameplay, the story, the shooting, the role playing, anything like that. Just like any movie, you can go into a movie and you can see the budget on the screen. It's like, okay, this is where this money went. I still may not like the movie, but I understand that they didn't just throw something on the screen and show it to me and charge me $20 for it. That's where I don't like. And I know, like as game enthusiasts, we try to go behind the scene. We kind of understand what goes on. But in this situation, I just want to come at it from a consumer perspective. I want my money's worth. That's it. Like it's your job to make the product. It's my job to buy it or not. And you telling me what's going on behind the scenes. If the product isn't worth the money, I don't want to spend any more money than what I'm spending now, and not knowing why I'm spending
Well, and that's one of the things that goes into this too, because you think you got Microsoft with their Xbox Game Pass,
it. Yeah.
and Phil Spencer coming out and talking about the fact that if they don't have 100 million people and like subscribers in the next like 2 years, they're going to call it quits.
Mhm.
And you know, you're looking at a completely digital future, especially with Microsoft, especially with their new console coming out. Um, and at the price point for what it is, as far as the Game Pass, you think about the average consumer. Yeah, we have the disposable income to maybe buy multiple games. Some people don't. And it's
Mhm.
like they can't just afford this stuff. And so you're going to raise the price. So instead of them maybe being able to get like maybe 5 games a year, they're only able to get two. And then if they
Yeah.
decide to go the Xbox route, they're only paying 14, well, they're whatever their the initial cost for the console and then their
Mhm.
internet service. They have Xbox Game Pass. Right now, it's only 14 something a month or whatever.
Mhm.
And so they have 100 games right at the get go that they didn't have if they had bought a Nintendo or and the Switch or PS5.
Mhm.
So it's like I don't know how they're gonna justify having. I mean, 70 still is a bit much, but I mean, they want to go higher. You're looking at what, 100 a game, maybe 150 a game.
And
Um,
that's not collector's editions, right? You're just
Yeah,
talking
just
just a base game,
standard
right?
edition. Yeah.
Man, what are like considering the collector's editions run right now like 100 man, I can't even begin to imagine what, like, oh hey, here's the the packaged one that comes with the season 1 and some special skins. It's going to be like double that. It's going to be crazy.
yes, and you know, I get it that this is an expensive hobby. It always has been, right? But again, you know, you know, you want to know what you get. I mean, that's the bottom line. And then they'll say, just like we're paying now, $70 regardless of the game, regardless of how many hours the game is, regardless of how much production goes into it. You know, the companies behind the scenes aren't going to go, well, you know, this one didn't take us as much time as the last one, so let's charge 40 for this one. No, if they feel like $70 is standard, they're going to do $70 regardless of how many man hours it took them to produce the game. And that's another thing. I think the better thing to do is would be to, all right, this is the new I guess the new high end, and then give us more things that are $40 and $30 that, you know, that aren't just indie games. Like, if you know, that Jedi Survivor game that came out recently, that game was busted too. Like, they knew it was busted. And if you're going to release something that you know isn't finished, hey man, put that out for $40, man. Like, let's stop pretending like you didn't know that you released this game busted and you want to keep fixing it, and you still want to charge $70 for it, and then circle back around and tell us, oh well, the whole thing needs to change because we can't afford to make it. It's like you're making it, you're making it, and you're giving it to us, and you're just giving it to us busted. And
Mhm.
I think the better thing to do would have more of a range of prices for these so-called AAA releases, and you know, scale it down, do whatever you have to do to make sure that it works, and that when I press play on this game, that it works first, and then come to the consumer and say, okay, now we need a little bit more. But this that's ridiculous. Like, again, I am a person that always understood that it was an expensive hobby and you work around it. You know, I know you, just like what Vince was saying, the this is all, it's going all digital now, so some of the used stuff is going out. And you know, we still have like the Steam sales and things like that, that like $30 here and there. And but you know, I want to keep this particular conversation, when I have it, strictly to a consumer and a company standpoint. I'm a consumer and I want my money's worth. And if they can't give it to me, then I'll wait. Just like the Jedi Survivor, I was really looking forward to that game, and I told myself when they released it broken, I am not paying more than $30 for this game. So whenever it goes on sale, I have it in all the wish lists. Is right now it went down to 40. I was like, that's not good enough. When it goes down to 30 or less, then I'll buy it because that's what it's worth. I mean, that's what they told us it's worth when they release it broken. It's worth half the price if it can't hold. I have a 3080 video card, and I read all the reviews. People have, I mean, 4080, 4090s, and it still won't run well. And then they circle back around and say, oh, well, the Xbox Series S is holding us back. It's like you released the game that people can't run on a 4090 and you're blaming the Xbox Series S. Come on, man. You guys are trying to swindle us on these prices, is what it is. And on these products. You know, it's just enough of that stuff.
Well, the architecture between the Xbox and the PS5 is very similar now. It's not like, with the PS3 to the 360, they really worked hard to make sure that it was going to be easier for these games to be developed, so I don't
Yeah.
understand.
All of that Series S stuff is shenanigans. It's just shenanigans.
Yeah.
Like, you could release it stable if it you know if the profits weren't in the way of doing so. You're like, all right, it might take us, you know, an extra 100 man hours to release it stable. Why not just put it out? And, you know, maybe we'll work on it a little later. Maybe we won't. We'll get the sales we're going to get. Maybe we won't. And let's circle back around and we'll use this low power thing as a scapegoat. It's like, no, man, you know, you could make this thing there should really be just like a baseline of performance. And that's what I assumed we were getting with this next generation. We were going to get this baseline of performance, 60 FPS at a 4K or 1440p upscaled, whatever. And this was going to be the new bottom floor of performance. And nobody would release anything that went below that. And we're constantly getting games that go below that and all over the place. And it's that even Final Fantasy 16 was all over the place, man. If you turned it up to the high frame rate setting, you were getting like sub 720p. That's ridiculous. Like that's Xbox 360 resolution, sub 720p just to get up to 60. You guys are telling me these are the most powerful consoles ever? I just don't get it. It gets really frustrating because again, I spent the full $70 on that game, and the performance was all over the place. And again, the gameplay separate from that. If I didn't like the gameplay or the story or whatever, that's something separate from just the baseline of performance. You buy a car, regardless of whether or not you like the leather seats, you want to be able to hit the gas pedal and it goes, and hit the brake pedal and it stops. Regardless whether or not you feel about the radio or the size of the cup holders, those are the basic things that you would want to get out of a car, and they're not providing those things to us when we buy this specific product.
That's a good analogy.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. It is a very good analogy.
Very good analogy.
Yeah.
I like that.
What do you do? What do you do about companies that exist out there that there's a 90% chance that what you're getting on day one is a lemon, like Bethesda, right? Like, look, I love the Fallout games and I love the Elder Scrolls games, but you know that whenever you buy that game, that first month, it's gonna be rough. You're gonna run into some shit. You're gonna be walking, and all of a sudden you're gonna fall through the earth. You're gonna go open a door or something. You're gonna get trapped on a loading screen, or like my brother very famously has quit Bethesda games because Fallout 3. He said he went to go pick up stuff off a body after he killed a raider. Nothing was there. Killed another raider. Checked his body. Nothing was there. His game glitched where none of the inventory was on the people, right? And yet, like Bethesda, right? I mean, it's not like they're some schlub company. They're one of the ones that a lot of people look to. I mean, again, I'm a fan of their stuff, but it's just crazy to think about that even a company like that that what you're going to be getting is a lemon, right? If we're going to stick with the car analogies, you're getting a lemon, and it's going to take the community coming together to technically piece it back together and make it make sense after the fact. But you're still paying full dollar for their stuff. But they've been that way for years, right? So it's almost baked into the industry as an expectation. And I mean, that's been on us, right? For giving them money consistently every single time, just for fear of, FOMO or whatever it is, right?
Yeah. Well, it's hard to convince people that are rightfully, excited about a thing coming out, and maybe they're not in deep into the enthusiast video game culture where they can go out and read a review on a thing and see how it performs. And maybe most people just don't care, right? If the frame rate is bouncing up and down, or if it glitches out, they just kind of charge it to the game and plow through it. Maybe that's the main customer base. And these companies have figured out, we get 80% of the people who don't care, and that last 20 are the people that won't. But that always only works for a certain amount of time before that larger 80% starts to listen to that smaller 20% before they make a purchasing decision, right? They say, oh, you ask your friend, I get that sometimes at work. Oh, they've asked me, oh, how is this game? How was it? I'm saying, I'm not going to bother with that because it's broken on day one. It's like, okay, I'll skip that one too. And there's a tipping point where that starts to happen, and by then, maybe you end up with another crash video. I don't know, because people are looking for more quality entertainment as all these other things are going off the rails. And I just hope it doesn't happen to the one that I love. And it's like, you can find something else, but I don't want to go outside and like play hopscotch or anything. I want to stay inside with my Xbox controller and play video games. I don't want to have to go find something else to do if this whole thing comes crashing down because these guys want to, there's a balance. People, people will pay for a quality product and with anything. With anything, people will pay for it. And it gets really frustrating when these companies are like, nah, we'll just keep skimming off the top until we figure out where the tolerance is to make the most. It's like, no, just give us the profit. People will pay for it. Just like you said, the collector's edition, people will pay now 2-3 times much if you give them something for the value. And I don't see how you're not making any profit off of it.
Yeah.
It's funny. You're making money off of it. It's just like, okay, why have 10 million when I could have 12? And if you can't make 12, then all the hell with it. Why? Where does that attitude come? Why can't you just be happy with the 10 million that you make? It's really funny. It's really funny and frustrating because it's like, yeah, man, it's not like, again, I'll reiterate, it's not like people that play video games don't understand that the cost of it. I'll buy a new video card and I'm like, okay, I have a sickness, but I'm still going to go buy this video card because I know I want it. And I'm happy with it after I get it. But man, these guys are really, really taking advantage. I think they're really starting to take advantage.
Well, and then you think about go ahead, Colin. I'll
I
add.
was just gonna say another car analogy. It's like ordering a Lexus and getting the Homer.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Getting the Homer. Yeah.
Yeah.
You pay for the Lexus. You were like, here's my Lexus money. And they give you the Homer. It's like, what is this? Like, oh, this is this shenanigans.
So that's one of the things I was going to say is because Square's reported that they lost money with 16, and it's like, well, what did you do? Why is the reason why? Because you made all this money, all the reviews came back great. This game technically is a success, but you guys are like, it didn't hit the numbers you wanted. Well, that's because you decided to make the game for the common folk instead of your RPG fan base. So instead of giving us the turn base we wanted, you gave us an action game. And so part of your audience checked out. I mean, I enjoyed the game. The story was fantastic. But man, I would love to have that game as an actual typical freaking RPG, with a full-on party and not this like, oh, well, we only have you have a party, but they're AI driven. No. I mean,
dude, I forgot every time the little moment in the game showed up where it was like so and so left your party. I was like, oh yeah, they were there. The only way that I knew that the person was in my party was every once in a while, like a little thing of ice would like appear on the screen for saying, and it was like, oh yeah, the Shiva girl is in my party, or like lightning would crackle off to the side of like, oh yeah, Sid's here, and then that was it, right? And then the crafting in that game was a joke.
Oh,
it's
yeah,
like, oh, hey, here's your stuff. Go craft your new weapon. It's like, why? I mean, okay, beat a new boss. I guess I'm gonna go to the smith and take that one item I got from the boss and go make myself a new sword.
I gotta play through New Game Plus to get the ultimate weapon. What is this nonsense? Why do I have to play this game twice? And there's no different ending. It's like, come on, guys.
Yeah, it's like the Ratchet and Clank games, the early ones. You got to go all the way through to get to the round where the gold bolt stuff was, all the gold weapons. Okay, good thing I love Ratchet and Clank, and I'll play it regardless. I'll play the same game 100 times. I'll get them gold bolts. I'll get that rhino. But at the same time, there's no variation. Zero. Just the experience you gain.
And so we just had Tokyo Game Show, and we got to see the amazingness of Rebirth. I mean, like, this is the game I wanted instead of like what we got with 16. I mean, I at least get to play with a party. There's like combo attacks where I can actually do like 2 moves together with 2 characters. That it's like Chrono Trigger all over again. And then
it looks
just
good.
Hearing the music and just like everything.
I gotta tell you though, the one JRPG that has come out in the last handful of years that is the only one that I know of that I actively got excited to get into another battle is one of the ones that also got announced, but it's the DLC for it, and that was Tales of Arise, man.
Yes, yeah.
Like, you want to talk about probably the best JRPG combat I've ever had in a game? Mm-hmm. Like, dude, constantly having that little wheel off to the side and like fighting something. Okay, it's got armor. I gotta use law to break the armor to go fight the thing, and then doing the combo attack. Man, I loved the combat of that game so much. Like 7, the remake, was fine, right? I something about it just never quite clicked with me. Mm-hmm. And so like the new one, you made a comment about it, right? Where they talked about how Sid and Vincent are just going to be the kind of, they're going to show up and just sort of hang around in the background.
Yeah, they're Red 13 basically this time around.
But
then you think about it. Yeah, I know. But then you think about it. You got Cait Sith, and then you have Yuffie, as your two new party members. So you're
I
going
would
to
I would happily trade
I
Kate
know
Sith for
for
either of
Sid
the
or
other two.
Vincent. Yes, I get
Yes.
it. I get it.
I would trade you 10 Kate Siths for one Sid.
Yes.
But I just found out that in an article, Nomura was talking about the fact that the voice actor for Reno died. And because of that, they were in the midst of recording the voice acting for the Japanese side, and they had to go and redo some of the stuff so that way they could push his things over to disc 3, so that way
Hmm.
he doesn't so it's we'll
Was
see
it the Japanese? Was it the Japanese
Japanese,
voice actor or the American
the
voice
Japanese
actor? Okay.
voice actor. So that means that we're not going to get, and he talked about it, we're not going to get Wutai, their little home world, their island and stuff. We're not going to get all that stuff. So
Mhm.
that's going to be pushed to 3. You got to think about anything that we're going to have with him. It's going to be pushed to 3. We're going to have a few things with him, but they didn't have enough time to get another voice actor cast to do it, which I understand. So that makes it makes you wonder, what are we going to get? I mean, because I already think that this is going to end either 2 places: when Eris dies, or when we're at the Northern Crater.
Yeah, when they call in the weapons.
Yeah.
I mean, I still have faith in this project because I enjoyed remake. The ending kind of threw me off, but the more I thought about it, the more I was like, oh, okay, I'll ride with it and see where they go with this thing. Whereas I was expecting just a straight retelling with slight tweaks of the original story. And so, the ending was kind of, all right, well, but the more, like I said, the more I rolled around in my head, the more I was willing to see where they want to go with it. What I've seen so far looks good. I enjoy that first game pretty much all the way through. So I'm optimistic. I think they're gonna do right by this one.
Yeah.
And oddly enough, they said the same thing. I think for this one, that they didn't sell as many copies as they wanted to. But again, they keep making these side deals with Sony to have it exclusive. So why are we talking about copies sold now? This is another thing, circles back around to the original thing. Like, you made this side deal to get it exclusive, and now you're talking about we didn't sell enough copies. Well, I mean, if the goal was to sell as many copies as you could, it should be on everything. It should be on Switch. It should be on Xbox. It should be on PC from day one. Like, you didn't. I thought the idea was that you would do this deal with Sony, and so you wouldn't have to sell as many copies. So, you got some money for it. But again, I mean, who knows why these guys do this? But I mean, I'm looking forward to it.
Well, think about like Mortal Kombat 1 with NetherRealm and stuff, and the fact that they have it on everything. I mean,
yeah, and they routinely sell like tens of millions of that game. They'll put it on everything. They advertise the hell out of it. I mean, it's Mortal Kombat, so it's a different, which is, on a side note, it's weird that Mortal Kombat sells so many copies, and it's almost all in North America. Man, it's like the Mortal Kombat is not a worldwide thing at all, but it just blows away every other fighting game, just like by multiples of 10. And it's like it's very weird that happens, especially if you have something like Street Fighter comes out, and it's much more global. But man, Mortal Kombat has always been a phenomenon. But yeah, I mean, like I said, I'm still looking forward to it. The things that I've seen make me very excited to play it. I enjoyed the combat. I agree that Tales of Arise combat is excellent. I probably only played like a quarter of that game already, but I keep going back to it. I don't think I've unlocked the full combat yet because I've just gotten I just passed up the mission where you get Law.
Yeah.
And so I don't know how far into the game that is, but I just got that character Law to join the party, and we beat that boss that was associated with his area. And I know there's a lot more to the combat that I even played from the demo, but that was good. I don't want to sidetrack it on that. Tales of Rise is good. Tales of Rise is good.
Yeah, that looks great. And then because like that trailer for remake was fantastic, and then we got gameplay and more stuff, and it's like, oh my god, I'm like, I just want it to be February already, and I can get my collector's edition and just start playing this game, because I'm definitely taking a week off. Taking a week off. I'm gonna blaze through it, because that's what I do. I'm one of those guys, unfortunately, that when I get a game and I like it, I just want to play it. It's the only thing I want to do. It's like whenever my game of the year came out, which is Sea of Stars. That game is fantastic. and definitely worth playing if you guys haven't checked it out yet. And it's
Yeah.
free on everything almost. So,
Yeah, the pandemic took care of that for me the first time around. So I think the pandemic,
yeah.
we had just gotten like sent home from work and Final Fantasy remake came out. So I was like, oh well, I'm just gonna put my teams up on one screen and have Final Fantasy on the other, and I was playing that thing for a while.
I'm gonna get the that Xbone or the Xbox never know the PlayStation freaking what is it? It's called the Backbone, but I know Sony's got their little thing that they're going to be releasing where you
Mm-hmm.
can kind of stream. Like,
Are you gonna get that?
I'm thinking about it.
How about you just give me your money, and you'll get a lot more value out of that. You just give me that 200 or so dollars, and you'll get a lot more value out of the smile on my face than you would out of that tablet with the controller.
Hey
With the
Vince, this is
two controllers on it.
this is the greatest birthday, Christmas,
Yeah, that's
Hanukkah
it.
gift ever.
Yeah, man, that's it.
But no, there's a lot of good stuff. I mean, the sad thing is the game that besides Final Fantasy Remake that we got that was really fantastic that Square did and knocked out of the park wasn't even a Square game, and that was in Dragon Quest 11. I mean, it's like take that engine, like David said, and just remake Chrono Trigger. Just do it. Just give us it. Yes, that's what I want.
The people say that they want the HD 2D for
It's
Chrono Trigger. The people have spoken. The people have spoken HD 2D for Chrono Trigger.
The reason why they're doing that is because of recency bias, right? The recency bias is there's all these remakes in the HD 2D. But like what I said, man, every game I've ever seen in that HD 2D, it looks good, but it's too dark, right? It's way too dark.
Yeah, and it's really contrasting. Yeah.
If you want to do Toriyama's art and his sprites justice,
it needs to be bright
right,
and vibrant.
Give them that pop.
Yeah.
And that Dragon Quest engine. Just go do it. And go and if they want to like completely blow it out of the water, go full on Dragon Quest Definitive Edition where you can also toggle it to be the 2D version, right? Like I don't expect that because I just don't expect them to go to the nines with it. But like if they do it HD 2D, I'll still get it, right? As long as they don't jack with it too much. But if they really want to do it justice, I still think that Dragon Quest engine would have been the way to go.
That kind of brings us into the video I sent out earlier from Clownfish TV about the fact that how that the death of video vlogs, not video vlogs, but vlogs about gaming and like or movies or review sites and stuff because of the fact that Google and other places want to keep their audience on their channel. They don't want them to move. So they just pushed out that whole AI search. I haven't turned it on yet, but it'll be able to like go and aggregate all this information and then like give it to you so you don't actually have to leave the Google search site. Everything is going to be done. So it's like, how is that going to affect video content, people doing reviews or anything on any of that? And because like when I heard it, I thought it was more like they are trying to stop people from review bombing things, when movies come out and they don't do well or people that they don't fit whatever narrative they're pushing. But that video was pretty insightful about what he was talking about, and it kind of makes you wonder because like I know that whenever I was in high school I wanted to create a website just like GameSpot and all these other places that we used to go to before the stories went crazy, because back then you could have done it. It's like how Nintendo Age and you had IGN and Porygon and all these other places that had this information. So if an AI is going to be able to go and just pull all this information and then give you a summary of what it was, why do you need to go? And then that's gonna put people out of jobs. And so it's one of those things where as much of a benefit AI is going to be, there's also concerns right now how that's going to affect things, but we also got other concerns with AI. I just kind of wanted to move into this direction because it's something that Colin can engage in a little bit more.
Quick sidebar. Apparently they've reached an agreement on the Writers Guild strike. It's supposed to end at midnight.
Okay.
Yay.
that'll be good as far as movies. Do you know? I know we were talking before we actually started the episode, and before Adrian showed up. Do we know if they're going to be able to factor in the AI side of that as well?
No, that they literally 5 minutes ago they've just announced it. They're releasing details of tentative deal with studios. That's all it's got so far. So keep an eye on that too.
Yeah, I'll be curious to see what all unfolded on that, because I mean, AI and the usage of it has been big since, you know, the explosion with the art stuff, right? It was like
Yeah.
first it was all this stuff about AI art, and then what Corridor Crew went and did their anime, right, where they created their own anime by basically, you know, putting an AI filter on top of live action footage they did, and they fed the AI like a bunch of art from Vampire Hunter D Bloodlust, and so
Oh,
they were
wow.
able to create. Oh, you didn't see?
No,
Y'all
I
never
didn't see
saw
it.
that?
Mm-mm.
Oh,
Yeah,
I've seen Vampire Hunter D.
Yeah, I've seen
That's a
Vampire
blast
D.
from the past. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, no. If you go to YouTube Corridor Crew and look up, I'm sure it has something to do with anime, but they made an anime about playing rock paper scissors, and it's all done in the style of Vampire Hunter D Bloodlust, and they specifically like walk through and show you the steps of how they went about creating it, and at that point it set off this huge firestorm of people like, you know, man, if you can just train an AI for, you know, a certain art style, and then just like essentially assign a filter to it on top of live action animation, and then just kind of go in and tweak background items and stuff, like, man, like how much does that change the industry, right? How much will that, you know, alter the way people are able to do things? On the one hand, right, you'll have a lot of really creative people go out and be able to make some really awesome, really you know, grade A type stuff, but whenever the big companies get a hold of that and they start abusing it, right, what is that going to do? What is that going to look like? And it's simultaneously really awesome for the indie side of things, of people being able to go out and bring their imagination to reality through these processes that have lowered the bar, so to speak, for this kind of stuff. But at the same time, man, it's kind of terrifying to think that, you know, like what we kind of joked about before we kicked things off, right? The old syndrome quote of, you know, once everybody's special, no one is, right? So like, what does that mean for everything going forward, and what is that going to look like?
Well, and I talked about too the fact that like how this is going to be able to give people that may have you know, learning disabilities or other, you know, amputees or whatever, somebody they can't draw, they can't write, maybe they just can't function normally to put a coherent story, but they have a cool idea. It allows them to be able to do something they couldn't achieve. And think about it. You had the guy who did One Punch Man, you know, he was not a great artist, and but he put it out there and people loved it, and then so all these other artists wanted to come in and help him make this story with this amazing art, and it's just taken off.
But even with that example, he put it out there as it was, and people gravitated to it. He didn't have to send it through an AI. He was just like, all right, this is what I have. Let me see if people like it. And I don't feel like I feel like you end up missing stuff like that if everybody with let me say something that might be considered rude. I don't know, but there are talented people in the world, and there are people that don't have talent, and like I want to see the products of talented people, especially if you're talking about things like entertainment. I don't want to see the product of somebody who doesn't have a whole lot of talent, run it through a machine, and then try to pass it off to me as something else. It seems a little, you know, and we're talking about just the AI with movies and stuff, and they have AI rappers and singers and stuff like that. And I'm just like, there's something I think part of the experience was the fact that I am listening to something or I'm seeing something that I could not have done myself. I'm hearing the voice of somebody that sings in a way that I couldn't do myself. And like you said, if they're just all running it through a machine, well, why don't I just run it through a machine? You know what I'm saying? I could why do I need to go purchase this thing that somebody ran through a machine? I can just get the machine and run it through myself and just, make something that entertains myself. I can get the machine myself and tell the machine, make me an entertaining anime, and just sit back and you know what I'm saying, let it happen.
Yeah.
And that's probably where it's going to go to. And then it's like, okay, then why am I, at the end of the day, paying you for this show, this music, this art, when I could have just, you know, got the machine and skipped the middleman and then, you know, just produce this thing for myself. I think that becomes a big question. It's like, all right, well, I listen to this musician because they have a unique voice that, one in 1,000 people has, and they take that voice, then they apply years and years of hard work on top of that, and then you produce something that's special and unique. And if it's not special and unique anymore, then what's the point? Just
Mhm.
like you said with the supers quote, what's the point?
Well, and then you think of it too. You have guys that create like I think Braid and Axiom Verge were both games that were done by one person.
Hmm. Yeah.
And you think about it like some people may have the talent but don't have the tools to do it. And being able to use the AI to be able to produce something that would allow them to not have to hire an animator or
Yeah. Well,
maybe they have,
but
but
again, you just hit it on the head. It's like when I know this game was made by one guy, I'm like, I'm going to buy that. I look at it and I say, oh, this is great. I'm going to buy that game because
Mhm.
this is gargantuan effort that deserves reward from me, something
Mhm.
like that. But then again, if you say, oh, this guy just ran it through this AI thing, it's like, oh well, that's fun and all, but it's not the same as a guy that
Yeah, I did the
wrote
hard work
wrote
and
the
stuff.
music, did the artwork, did all these things put together. Like what was the game, that Harvest Moon style deal that the one guy did?
Stardew Valley.
Stardew
Stardew
Valley.
Valley.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, I purchased that game. I might have played like 10 minutes of it, but I purchased it because I was like, this is one guy did this. And I'm just going through the game. It's like, oh, holy shit, one guy did this. It's special. It's
Well,
special.
but I mean, but you knew the backstory of that, right? Kind of like what we
Yeah,
were going back to talking about earlier. What about the casuals, right? What about the people
yeah.
that are just
It's true.
walking into the
It's
store
true.
and stuff? Are they
It's
going
true.
to? Or it's like the way that the old box art and VHS rentals worked, right? You walked up and you bought the thing because of the box art.
Yeah.
It was a heavy chested woman and a zombie and
Mhm.
something and
You had me at heavy chest. Yeah.
an explosion going on in the background, right? It's like that, like this drew you in, and then you pop it in, and it's like a shoestring budget. It all looks
Yeah.
like garbage. The acting is terrible, and you're like, why did I
Yeah.
pick this up again?
Yeah.
And then
Yeah. Yes.
you pick up the box and you look at it like, oh, this is why, right?
Yeah.
This is
Yeah.
what I
That's
did,
it.
That
Yeah.
right?
that one scene, where
Yeah. Yeah.
There
just
was
Yeah.
this
happens
one
to
scene
show it
where you
all.
actually got to see the chests, but
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
but no, but I mean, whenever you get beyond that, right? And now, whenever you see the box art, you see this thing because, like, the thing that kind of terrifies me is it's AI and just robots in general are going to go
Mhm.
for optimization, right?
Yes.
And
Yeah. Yeah.
if you're going for optimization, then there's certain aspects of creativity that are going to be sacrificed on the altar of optimization. Because at a certain point, it's going to figure out, okay, I want to maximize my profit, and in order to maximize my profit, I need to make a game that looks like this, plays like this, da 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 da.
Yeah.
Send it out, right? Send it out until diminishing returns, and then you
Yeah.
just got to run through the filters again.
Yeah.
What's the current day thing? All right, make a game that does this, make the art look like that. Boom, out it
That's
goes.
it. That's it.
As long as you're feeding the casuals, that's all that matters, right?
Yeah.
That's where your bread and butter is going to be coming from, and that's
That's
kind of the
true.
scary thing for me. I saw there was a YouTube short where this guy was talking about uh, why he thinks that AI art will, never quite overtake regular art, and he was describing this painting, and he was just describing all the little aspects of it, right? Like it was this huge thing about contrast between
Mhm.
and there were so many levels of contrast in the way that it was colored in the subject matter. It was split diagonally, showing like nature this way and man and all this other way. There were so many little things that you could go in and figure out, and he took the concept of that painting went and plugged it into AI art and it just generated this generic thing, which if all you were looking for was, oh, hey, I want, this thing, the AI art, whenever you look at it, it's like, yeah, that it is that thing that I asked for. But then whenever you take into consideration all the other things that went into the first one, right? The computer's not going to know that. It just knows to optimize, okay, I need these subjects showing this in roughly this order. Boom, here you go. It's the bread for the it's the bread for the masses type thing. And so if anything, that's what I fear the most, is an eventual loss of creativity where, yeah, everybody's just gonna let me go type it in and send it off, right? And what is that going to do to us creatively? Where is that spark going to go if everything is just so easy to spit out and it's just being generated by computers that are optimizing it down to the most basic building blocks that everyone's willing to feed on, right?
Yeah. Right.
Something to add to this is because we do have the other side of this is, besides film, we have music, and, we got Paul McCartney working with an AI to be able to finish a song that John Lennon had worked on with him, but never finished it. And they're going to do a whole album this way. And, his thoughts on that. And I was like, well, this is a good segue for Colin to add into, because he's a musician. He does stuff with music all the time. So,
well, using AI as it is can be a tool. Okay. Now, the way that he's going to be doing that is basically he's going to tell the AI, this is how John Lennon wrote. This is what he would do. Can you replicate it? And then I'll add to it. Basically, for some people, it'd be just like, okay, can you give me a structure or on this particular subject in this particular key? And it'll crank you out something. 99% of the time, it'll be garbage. But you can go back and say, okay, this makes sense. And, musically, does it resolve things like that? Music theory and garbage. But you can go back and say, okay, this is not bad. I can take this and I can work with it. So it's like having another person to collaborate with.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're going to go, we live in the day and age where electronic music and stuff like that is very prevalent. And that right there, that's just people. A lot of that is people who have never picked up an instrument. They know what they like to hear, and they can go to the computer, use the DAW, the recording system, and go in and write the notes, literally just dot, 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 in a MIDI pattern, select a virtual instrument, boom, they can have what they want. And there are, the amount of people that can do that now or are doing that now is adding to the music genre and helping keep the creative spark going that way. But it doesn't lend itself to all styles.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of a mixed bag on it. And because I read that story on the McCartney thing, and, I'm like, at this point, the guy should get a pass. He's already proven that he can write. He's already proven he's got the spark. If this is an avenue that he wants to pursue, using it as a collaborative effort, go for it. It's when people get lazy. It's like you said, it's like David said, where's that spark going to go? If you want to be a musician and you're not going to go the whole electronic route, you want to be able to pick up a guitar, but you get writer's block, will you go to the AI? Will you sit down with a friend? That's going to become the option later on, because pandemic, of course, ruined it for a lot of people to sit down and just be able to sit around a campfire and play guitars. You can't sit. You couldn't, for 2 years, you couldn't sit in a room together. And everybody got, introverted, couldn't go do this together. Oh, no, can't do that together. So what did they do? They sat in their rooms and they learned how to use computers, and they learned how to play instruments, and they learned how to paint and things like that. Now that we're all back out there, okay, some people are back to that because some people are social butterflies. Some people still at home trying to do the same stuff. But now it's going to be even easier because you're going to have this tool that eventually is going to do all the work for you. And we're going to end up like in WALL-E. Everybody's going to be in these little floaty chairs. Boom, 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 boom. Do everything from that. Boom. that I know that that's all over the place, but that just that
No, that was it. I mean,
there are so many levels and so many layers to it.
well, I think that the thing you said about Paul McCartney is important because yeah, you do see him using it as a tool because he's already demonstrated his talent. So
Exactly.
when you see him use it, you're like, okay, yeah, he's gonna give us something enhanced. But I don't. Most people don't have that kind of talent. They just want to get into the edge. And aside from what Vince said, people that may have something blocking them from doing it. That's separate. There's a lot of people that, oh, I just want to be a singer because I want fame and the fortune and all that. So I'll just
Yeah.
go use this thing and throw something out there. And that's where it's like, yeah, man, I don't. That's kind of a future that you don't want. And it's not like it
It's
hasn't been
cheating.
going on for yeah, it hasn't been going on forever with I'm 40, 41. I remember, the rise of the pop stars and NSYNC and the Britney Spears and all that. That was
Yeah,
kind
the
of
manufacturer.
manufactured, yeah,
Yeah.
to a certain degree. But so then where do you draw the line? Is that type of manufacturing okay, but the AI isn't? Yeah, I
Yeah, I
mean,
mean,
who knows?
it. It's like saying, "Hey, AI, what you got?" It's going to be the new version of, "Hey, who's got beats?"
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Basically, because you got people who can rap or want to try and rap, but they
Yeah.
don't have the skills and they don't have the time or the computer,
Hmm.
socioeconomic whatevers. And they'll go say, "Who got beats? I want to do it over this." Now, all they literally have to do is put an app on their phone, go to
Yeah.
Chat GPT and say, "Okay, what have you got? What can you do for me for this?
Hmm.
I needed it," and then a rudimentary, that's the word I'm looking for, my goodness, knowledge, which you can get in school by going through band class or music class. That's all you need now, as it is. And you know, it, people say, well, you got to have skills you got to have knowledge of computers and stuff like that. No, I see 5-year-olds take
Yeah.
phones and can get past the parents' guards and get in there and get to full YouTube. Seen it.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
determination. It's also you can pay for like lynda.com or
Yeah.
other
And
programs.
you can figure all this stuff out.
Masterclass.
Yeah, YouTube is the biggest resource
Yeah.
we have to be able to find out about anything.
Yeah,
You can become a mechanic easily.
There's certain things. Yeah, there's just certain things you want to know that you're paying for some kind of craftsmanship. I
Yeah.
think, and I feel like most people, I'm one of them. I don't necessarily feel like I want to pay for something. Um, there are like tasks that I know I could do I cut my own yard, but before I had in an old house I had a guy come out and cut the grass or whatever. I could get out there and cut the grass, but you pay for the convenience. You're talking about artistry and things like that. I like to think that you're paying for something that you couldn't do. And again, it goes back to if I can just plug that in there, it's like why am I paying you to do it? Why are you a celebrity and I'm not? And I could type in a thing in the AI just as well as you could. I
Exactly.
can't I can't hit a Whitney Houston note, so that's why hey, take this money. I couldn't hit that note, to save my life. But you have that gift, that talent, and you worked on it. So I want to pay for that craftsmanship. It's going to get wild out there. I think it's going to get wild out there as because I know just growing up listening to rap music, it was a very important thing that the rappers wrote their own
Yes.
rhymes. That was super important. You could be run out of town if somebody found out that you didn't write your own rhymes or whatever.
Exactly.
Nowadays, it's kind of like, who cares if you wrote it or not? Nobody really, and it kind of gets to that because that's when I'm like, well, if nobody cares, then why should I care or why should I listen to it? Let me find the guy that wrote the thing or it was written by committee or whatever. And now it's mostly now it's just an accepted thing that most people aren't writing these things for themselves. But that was something again back then that was special to know this was the guy that did it. It came from him, and he's telling his life or whatever. And that's not to say that people don't enjoy the music the same as they do now, but it does take away a little something. And I think that does contribute to the fact that now you versus then you're getting paid for pennies on the dollar for a stream, when back then you could sell a whole album because again people knew the artistry behind it. And now when you just manufacture, people are like, well, I don't want to pay $20 for a CD when I know you guys just engineered this whole thing in a lab and this whole thing was written by a committee. They don't see the value in it anymore, and I can't blame them.
And I want to add to that, going back to the rap back in the 80s and stuff like that, when you got a real record that was real rap and stuff like that, you knew that not only were they writing it and doing it themselves, they set up their studios in their house.
Yeah.
They recorded it, they put it together, and then they hustled and got it, got the record labels interested, but they presented them with the final product. And then they just mixed it in the studio and it went out. I mean, that was straight up respect.
Yeah.
I mean, you may not have always liked the music labels coming up, but you could respect it because they busted their asses to get it right. Yeah. And that was worth it. Yeah. And I'm talking going back to NWA and stuff like that. The forefathers, and all of them went on to create empires. Why? Because they were driven. They had the spark, and they made their lives, and they enriched their lives and moved on. Why? Because they had the opportunity and the ability to carry through.
Go ahead, David.
Right.
And one more thing. Well, I'm sorry. You want to go?
It's all right. It's all right. We're all
I'm
passionate.
sorry. I get on a soapbox about this crap.
No,
the other thing that AI is going to do eventually is something that's already going on. It's been going on for decades. Backing tracks on live performances. Okay. It's been a real big discussion because of the whole thing with Motley Crue over the past year. That Mick Mars got fired from Motley Crue and he let the cat out of the bag. Okay. That they use backing tracks. Nikki Sixx never played on their first 4 albums. Boom, 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 dominoes. Okay. So now that's back and forth. And now a lot of bands are saying, well, yeah, backing tracks are fine. You're one of these manufactured artists, like a Justin Timberlake or something like that. Yeah, you can afford musicians, but at the same time, you can have it piping through the system to save your voice. Yeah. You're going in, and what you're getting is Milli Vanilli all over again, and it's fine.
Yeah.
Back in the day, Milli Vanilli, once they were discovered, boom, they were done. Even when they tried to come back on their own, said, listen, no, we can do this. We can do this. Give us a chance. Now, just about everybody's doing it. You have to be one of the outsiders who actually knows how to sing and play an instrument to say, no, you shouldn't do that. That's not what it's about.
Yeah.
I mean, I think at the heart of it all, right, is the question of what are we going to hold up as being necessary for society, right? Like the thing that we're all talking right now is authenticity, right? It's the authenticity of the experience. It's the authenticity of the craft. It's the authenticity of the art and the artist and what's showing up there, right? And, it's really easy, I guess, for me to become sort of doomer pilled in the mentality of, people don't care about the authenticity of something. They just care about what's the cheapest, what's the brightest, flashiest, shiniest little thing. What is it that they've been told by the last 20 websites they were on and that commercial that ran on YouTube before that thing that they just watched is telling them that is the next big thing that they need to go get it, right? And we're in this weird time period where we have these huge corporations that are trying to tell people all the things they need to go out and watch and experience, right? It's like all this stuff going on with Disney and Lucasfilm and their struggles where it's not like their, media budget has gone down. They're still going out there and trying to tell people to go and consume all this stuff that they're asking you to go and watch, but they've been getting mixed results for it. So is society kind of pushing back and asking for more authenticity? Is there going to be a point at which the younger generation we're kind of the vanguard of it right now, right? Because we have a little bit more of the purchasing power overall. But is the next generation going to care that much the way that we are about the level of authenticity that we want in our art and in the stuff that we're choosing to spend our dollar on, right? Like it's kind of a question. And it seems like the corporations are trying to, bet it all on no, right?
Mhm.
You just want the thing, right? And if all you want is the thing, then they don't have to put effort. They don't have to pay artists. They can just get some schmo to put a bunch of stuff in an algorithm and spit out a thing that people are going to go out and watch. But it'll be interesting to see as we move along how this unfolds, because I mean, again, Disney's been getting taken to the cleaners, right?
Yeah.
Over their, but will we ever see a turning point, right? Will they finally go back to making more authentic stories and art, or are we going to eventually see the shift of people who just want to see the thing that they're trying to be fed, right? It'll be interesting to see where that turn happens, if it happens, and what's the catalyst for it.
Yeah, that goes back into that whole thing too, because we got to look at the fact that we're all parents here. We all have that next generation going on, that what we I mean, we have a responsibility as parents to teach our kids the value of what they consume and the importance of it and why to appreciate it. And that's why we get into the traps with our kids where they want to play Roblox that has no substance whatsoever other than the fact that it's just a connection to another player.
Yeah.
It's a fun gimmick. That's why people play Fortnite and stuff. It's a good first person, shooter. It
Yeah.
has some really cool skins and things, but it's like there's no substance to it. That's why we covet like games like Final Fantasy 7 or God of War, or these things that are like that resonate with us. And what we're at this point right now where, like my nephew has his things, but he's grounded in what we taught him and his new stuff, right? And he's
Mhm.
going to be 18 this year or 18 next year. And
Mhm.
then but like my niece Alice and my son Edward and y'all's kids are like, they're at that point where it's like they're getting fed this new stuff. It's we complain about how bad the new Turtles movie is, and the reasons why it's bad, not because it doesn't match up to our memories of what the original Jim Henson 1990 live action Turtles movie, or 89 Batman, but it's one of these things where it doesn't resonate with them sometimes. I know that like my dad tried to show Alice the original Turtles movie. She's like, "What did they do to them? They look horrible." And it's like, that was amazing. It was amazing puppetry. It was way before CGI. And you think about what Michael Bay did with the films and stuff, and how like they were all just roided out 8 feet tall turtles, that like couldn't hide behind a trash can if they wanted to without their shell kind of peeking out, sneaking up on some bad guys. So it just makes you wonder where this is going to go, and that's goes back to the whole AI thing being, a tool or a hindrance, and how it's going to help kids that have learning disabilities and or amputees or whatever. It may help bridge the gap between robotics with a robotic leg for somebody that we couldn't just do with running a wire through the body, connecting it to the nerves and stuff to make it to where it works right. So it's a give and take. I don't know. I can see the possibilities, but I could see the horrible disasters of Skynet coming about and sending T-800s out to kill us. But
Yeah, that's gonna happen. But let's enjoy. Let's enjoy what we got here.
yeah.
I feel like we hit on something with the kid things, because my daughter watches. She doesn't watch a whole lot of TV shows or cartoons or anything like that. She watches like YouTube kids and like these YouTube people doing things. And I don't know if that's an indicator that the younger generation doesn't want anything that's like overly produced or anything like that. They just want to see like people doing stuff. I don't know where that ends up going when they become, teenagers and adults and have buying power and things like that. Like maybe they don't want to see a movie with special effects and scripts and all these things. Maybe like that. because she, you know, she watches the occasional Disney movie and all these things, but none of that stuff holds her attention as much as, you know, like Mr. Beast doing something, or
So
an unboxing of some dolls or something in a review. I'm like, okay, this is what you want to look. You have, and I don't, you know, it's obviously age restricted, but she has access to every app that, you know, the Disney Plus, the Netflix, and all these things. They're age restricted, but you can get the wide gamut of whatever you want, and it still just gravitates back to real people, you know, reviewing a pie that they just ate or something like that, and they're doing a weird challenge, and it's like, okay, I mean, this is, and then just like you said, the Roblox thing specifically because her friends are on there and they want to talk while they play whatever weird Roblox game that somebody created on the fly. It's all what's those Nickelodeon shows like the regular show Gumball come to life. Is they don't want any structure, just weird scenarios that they want to experience. That's what Roblox gives them with their friends. Because I sit down and I watch her do that, and just like every room that she goes into is like a new game somebody created, just weirdness stuff. And they'll be sitting in desks in the classroom, and then a teddy bear rip the roof off, and so and it's like, okay, this is some weird stuff. But that's what they're into, just the random non-narrative entertainment type thing. And maybe that's where the future is, just like a lot of this non-narrative stuff with just games and stuff, and you know, TV and movies just kind of fade away. That's always a possibility with some of this stuff that especially these corporations never even consider, is that this thing could just go away.
Yeah.
It could even be, you know what I'm saying? We could, there's lots of different forms of entertainment that we don't partake in, that, you know, 100 years ago was all the rage. Like, I don't think Major League Baseball has even recovered their audience fully from when they went on strike in the 90s. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And the NFL took that over. And then so it's just like all of this could just go away. That's always a possibility too. It could just go away.
yeah. So we're saying that AI is going to create Skynet, kill us all with T-800s.
Yeah.
But before that, we're just going to become inundated with reality TV shows.
Sure.
With reality TV shows and chat room
Yes.
games.
So yes,
because I watched my daughter trying to play this one game. It was based on some, like, I don't remember. She was playing this one game, and I was sitting there. I was watching her play it, and I started asking her about it, and it reminded me. It was so funny because it reminded me of the early days of the internet. Because essentially what they do is they just like chat crap at each other, right?
Yeah.
And they like fight each other.
Yeah.
And it reminded me of the very first time I ever saw a chat room.
Yeah.
Because a buddy of mine.
This is a callback to an episode before.
I went over to his house, and he was in this chat room, and it was a Dragon Ball Z chat room, right?
Yeah.
I sat there and I was watching. I just remember watching the dialogue of it, and it was like, I shoot a Masenko, and it goes through your chest, and you die. And it's like, no, I instant transmission out of the way and fire a Kamehameha in your face, and your head explodes. And it was just like this never-ending scroll of just everyone just talking about how they were killing each other, but there were no rules or anyone like moderating it. It just was madness. But somehow in this Roblox thing, somehow they established like, no, this is like a chain of events. It's weird, but I just flashbacks the first time I saw her playing on Roblox. I was like, wait, I remember this crap. This is garbage. What are you?
It just worked its way all the way back around. Yeah, worked its way all the way back around.
So it almost makes you feel like the movie Idiocracy is like coming to pass, you know, with like the nonsense things that people are enjoying that don't have any real substance, doesn't have the parables or the lessons that we're supposed to learn, the things that pique our interest or make us, you know, have like inspiration to draw, you know, and to have a dream for something, you know. It's like we're all going to be hooked up into the Matrix, and it's just going to be all slapstick nonsense, like we're back in the you know, the 20s and stuff with you know,
Stooges.
Yeah, the Stooges. Yeah, I mean,
no narratives, you know, like I say, it's all free form, just, you know, whatever, no narratives, no structure to it. It's just just get in the chat room and mix it up. And I think that's why everybody's betting on the VR and the AI stuff, just to be like, hey, I'll create this environment for you for people to just run wild in. You know, we don't have to put any structure in it.
You know, that
But
was one of the.
but at the,
Oh,
real,
go ahead, David.
real quick, but at the same time, right? But like that's playing D&D,
Yes,
right?
Yeah.
that's where I was going.
That's playing old D&D. That
Yeah.
there is a creative spark there in those kids where it's like I guess that's and that's kind of where I'm curious to see if that's the future, right? Where
Yeah.
it is this, we don't need this overproduced thing anymore because we can do so much more with our imagination,
Yeah.
right? And if that's what the future leans into, then that's awesome, because then whenever those kids grow up and they get these tools and they realize, oh, you want to know what? I do kind of want to create a cartoon or a game, and I want to add some structure to it because I want to tell this story or I want to do this thing, and the tools will be there for them to build it. And it's like it'll be great but I mean that's the indie market right now, right? So
because Minecraft is still real big too.
Yeah, it is.
That's another one. That's another one.
But Minecraft, at least, you know, when you do that, you have like the virtual Lego feel. It's like,
Yeah.
I'm going to go build this, or I'm going to go mine the materials to make this,
Yeah.
you know, and then, or you can play in creative mode. I mean, there's a story. It's like, it's very versatile what you want to do versus like what you get with Roblox. You can make games if you know how to program for it. You're just going to play somebody else's, and you got to run the risk that, hey, you're playing with some guy that you don't even know, you know, and your kid
Yeah.
just give them your address, and it's like, oh great, I got this guy at my house. Who is this person?
That's
35 and he's got orange slices. Run.
right. That's it.
But
That's it.
the
That's it.
cool idea of a sandbox that allows you to be able to do anything you want is a cool idea, because it does
That's cool idea.
spark that imagination. It does spark the creativity that
Yes.
you know we didn't have as kids. I mean, we did with our toys, you know, playing with Optimus Prime or GI Joes or Turtles.
Yeah, it was
We were making these storylines that were so far beyond and so much better than what we saw on TV. But then we're right back next Saturday watching that stuff. And a lot of it is we've created this mess that we are living right now, as far as how media is consumed, how things are created. I mean, we literally have people, and I'm not going to get into a political thing about this, but it's like we have people that like don't want to listen to facts, and they just want to come up with their own like history, and the fact that like we have scientifically proven that the Earth is round, and people are like, no, it's flat. I'm like, did you drink something? Did you like sniff too much like
That's a fun time.
Too much paint? What?
Yeah, I mean,
you just gotta let those people burn themselves out, because they will. But yeah, I mean, you're right. You're right about that stuff, man. It's no bueno. It's no bueno. But I like to think there's some hope that they'll take the creative stuff, and then, like you said, take that and be like, oh, I'd like to make something a little more substantial now, instead of just, I'm just in the void with the blocks. Let me make a little something more substantial now that I'm a little bit older. I'd like to think that that's where that goes, hopefully.
Yeah, I do too. Because I mean, it's up to us as the parents to guide them. You know, that's one thing. Like I had Colin, I had my dad, I had like all my dad's friends, you know, that would influence me with drawing and music and creativity and things. And that's what I'm trying to do to my son. It's just hard, you know, with life. You know, we work so much more now than ever before, and just trying to make enough to be able to support your family is hard enough as it is. But you lose that time that you need with them, you know, to like guide them. So I don't know. It's a learning process we all have to go through, and hopefully
we just gotta hang in there until Skynet, man. Just hang in there until Skynet, and then all your troubles will just go to your nearest chain link fence and just hold on till your skeleton
comes off.
Till the skeleton turn. That's what I'm doing. I'm taking the whole family down to ground zero, so we can each have a post on the skeleton fence.
I realize that I'll be John Connor in my 80s, not like in my 40s. You know, so Skynet happens. I'll be like, all right, go get him there, and then that's about it. But yeah, anything else, guys? I think this went really well. It's a really good, deep discussion.
Yeah, it's legit.
Yeah,
it's legit.
All right. Well, everyone, thank you for checking out this episode. Stay tuned for next week when we talk about finally Batman 89, the the sequel
Mm.
to the Tim Burton trilogy film.
I don't believe you until you read the damn thing, man.
You don't believe me? I will
Batman.
read it. I have it. I got time set aside for this weekend, so I'm gonna get caught up with that and Gregory. So and then Adrian, if you want to be on that, we'll send you the stuff so you can read it if you want to be a part of that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
And they've announced a sequel to the Batman '89 comic.
so what's cool about the comic is that it's Billy D. Williams as Harvey Dent who becomes
Oh,
Two-Face.
okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That's
It
we all
picks up-
deserve.
It picks up right after Batman
Batman
Returns.
Returns.
Okay.
So this would have been the movie this would have been the script for the movie that Tim Burton would have done if the studio allowed him to do it. Because I think
Oh, okay.
I don't know if it was the studio that pulled him out or he was working on something else. They weren't giving him enough time to do it.
I watched something where the studio was like, nah, it was too dark, so they kind of told him to go kick rocks. But I'll read more up on it and see.
Yeah, who knows?
Yeah.
You could bring it up on the next episode. So
Yeah.
but all right, everyone, have a great one. See you next episode.
Deuces.